from Easter Island in Chile, the southeasternmost tip of Oceania, I think is what Steele was telling me the other day. We are here with I honestly lost track of how many we've done. We've done so many of these. Grand Platypus Open, number 55. I am, of course, the host, Yaku of the Zaku, and with me today is el primor temporizador que está en una cartilla himself, Light _VIP. How we doing, Light? On this stacked day of StarCraft 2.
I'm very sad right now. I'm very torn. This is like
Dios mío.
this is like when you have your two kids and you have to pick between them, you know? You have to. It's oh god. for those who have been watching the channel for a long time, you know what we're talking about. Wow.
This is like my brother going up against my grandson.
That's exactly what this is. What's up, Yaku? I don't know if my heart can take it today. Mate, go for it.
Let's see if we can. Here at the top left-hand corner of the map, starting all the way to the top left-hand corner, the red Zug player coming down from Brisbane over in Australia, now with an actual computer, I'm assuming. He is going to be representing Downfall Gaming, gonna make his opponent say, uh-oh, he's Oreo.
It's been so long since you've said that.
And we put him up in the round. Santa Maria.
Jesus Cristo. Spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Death Aura LE. We have our second born. We have the Australian Protoss. He is blue, representing Team Fight for Justice. It is StarDuck.
The young and the younger. I think this particular match is.
Yeah, exactly. For those wondering, we have been on the StarDuck hype train these past couple of months. We've seen him rise up from being a diamond player all the way to GM. We cast him as often as possible. He's even jumped on and casted, once even. I think it was an SDO or an MSO a while back with Steel. But before StarDuck, there was Oreo. And
there was,
yeah,
it was a very similar story with Oreo. Also started in the Diamond League, played in our amateur event, shot up all the way to Masters, started taking it to some of these much more established pros. But then, Light, I tell you, I'm feeling it more and more nowadays. Education. It's ruining esports.
It's ruining it. It's taking all of our good players. But exactly, like Oreo, he also played in our amateur events, and he shot up much faster than compared to StarDuck. It was 2019.
I agree.
2019 was his year, and that was the year where BlizzCraft happened, and he showed up, and no one, like people like Probe and Sita were like, who the hell is this guy? Like Azure as well, and he beat Blisk in BlizzCraft, and everyone was like, what? And then he really made a name for himself. Him and all the other newer boys, like Chappie as well.
You made an APM video of him, didn't you?
Yeah. And that was one of the hard things because he's so fast. But we've seen time and time again, like that can come to his detriment. One of the saddest stories was one of the last times we casted him was in the DreamHack Winter qualifiers, the ANZ Champs qualifiers. If you remember, Oreo made it all the way to the final series, right?
Yeah, he made it all final series. It was against Pig Jr. if I'm not wrong.
All the way to the end. They were very long games as well because Pig Jr. was playing mech against Zerg, and it went all the way to the ace match. And it was like a 6.5 hour broadcast, and at the end of it,
and half of it was that final series.
It pretty much. And at the end of it, Oreo was telling me like, we even had to have like a little bit of a break in between a couple of the games because his wrists were absolutely killing him. Like playing for 6 hours just destroyed him, and he's even been active on social media. Like he's going to the doctor for his wrists. Like he's trying to, because he can't play for extended periods of time anymore. On top of that, he's also is focusing on university as well. It's one of those things where, like, we've seen it with Bjorn, where these things like hinder such good players. It's like, oh god, you hate to see it.
Yeah, the hottest fires burn the quickest? Question mark. I think that's how the saying goes.
Brightest, fastest.
Brightest, yeah. But glad to see. Well, hopefully he's taking better care of himself here. Better care enough to sign up for a Grand Platypus Open like this. If I know Oreo, though, then no, Oreo is pretty responsible, I will say.
Yeah, he has taken quite a bit of time off. I was quickly checking his Wikipedia. The last time Oreo competed was in November of last year. Like, he has taken quite some time off, and in that time he's been working out, he's been focusing on himself, and now he's back, to StarCraft, and we'll see how he holds up against some of the other young blood here, against some of the other rising talent in StarDuck.
That we shall, but for the most part, not seeing a lot of action in this particular game. Oreo taking things a little slow, which is funny to say after we just talked about all of his, sick APM and how fast he can really be with his hands. But yeah, just wants to get to a very comfortable position before being forced into an engagement.
Definitely. Like, fun fact, Oreo has actually been working on slowing down. He's been working on not moving, kind of like the MVP route, if you remember, where like you don't play as fast but more like effective, if you will.
Absolutely. When you try to figure out what is the best effective AP use you can make of your APM, they call it the EPM. It should be EAPM because effective actions per minute.
Yeah. But yeah, that's exactly what Oreo's been doing. He's been working on slowing down, making sure his actions matter, making sure he doesn't hurt himself too much. And we do see that. What I'm curious about is how does he do in today's meta? Because again, since November, things have changed. Stargate has become so much more common, as we see StarDuck with the double Stargate opening.
And Oreo is starting to make use of these Void Rays. I have a feeling that Oreo has been keeping up and has done his homework. Immediately decided to go into the Hydras after his lair got taken earlier on. And that's going to be making up the bulk of his forces right now. I don't see a Baneling Nest at the moment. There is a Baneling Nest, but no Banelings being made as of yet. It's going to be more of a Hydra Link focused army, which I do like.
Yeah, and he's just going across the map. Even the Queens are waddling across the map, completely leaving his third base exposed, so it could go down, and we should be seeing a recall as soon as StarDuck realizes what's happening.
And here it comes. StarDuck got to be scratching his head, wondering, where's your army, dude? And now he sees it. There's that massive recall coming down. But are these Void Rays gonna be enough? Not a lot of gateway units out right now. Storm about to be finished up, and that is really gonna be the saving grace for StarDuck. The Banelings crash on Archons, actually. StarDuck morphing them over right in the nick of time. That could have been so much worse than it was.
Oh my god, but you know what? Regardless though, no more High Templar. Storm finished at like 5 seconds ago, but it's not ready for the attack. The Hydras are pushing on forward, and there just barely isn't enough here for StarDuck.
That there is not. What are 3 Hydras, Void Rays rather, gonna do against that many Hydras? Archon early on took so much of a beating as well. GG is called. Oreo has still got it. Man, you can tell he's been keeping up. With the meta. He knows what's effective against these styles.
Mate, a couple of seconds later, and StarDuck would have had those storms ready, but 0 storms went down in that fight. Wow.
Just wow. The most effective tool you have at your disposal as a Protoss player against Lingbane Hydra like that. And Oreo is well aware of that. Just targeted down the Templar, taking him out. Even though StarDuck was able to morph that Archon in the end, it's nowhere near as effective as the sheer amount of splash damage that Storm has. Exactly.
And Oreo, despite that hiatus, he has been practicing pretty hard these past couple of weeks. I was pointing it out, as soon as ANZ Champs got announced, everyone was jumping on it, including people like Oreo.
Yeah, let's try to get back on the wagon, so to speak. Sort of like riding bike, can't play in something like GP. Well, you can play in something like GPO after taking an extended break, but you want to work your way up, so to speak.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Oreo taking it a little slower. His APM that game was 442.
Look, it's not 500,
That's
okay?
still above average.
It is.
It's not the Ragu levels, but that's still kind of above average for Zur.
Yeah. Again, he's trying, okay? He's trying to slow things down. Oh, God.
I just can't do it.
And that was a very crisp timing. I did want to touch on things a little bit. Like Oreo, he hasn't just been practicing. I know he's been studying a lot of Lambo. He's been streaming a little bit more regularly as well. Like he has been working on this matchup specifically against Protoss.
And it's really paying off here. I like to imagine he was specifically targeting StarDuck here, thinking, oh, this is the one person I'm not particularly familiar with in the scene. All right. But regardless, we're going to continue on to Romanticide LE. LE, of course, standing for Lovers England. Lovers England. That's the equivalent to Lovers Ecuador. Actually, I could say Lovers equivalent. That's what makes Romanticide, and we'll see. Here in the bottom right-hand corner, map spawning all the way in the bottom right-hand corner, the red player coming down from the land of Brisbane. He is representing Downfall Gaming, DFG. He is Oreo.
And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Romanticide LE, we have the Australian Protoss player. He is representing Team Fight for Justice. It is StarDuck.
So obviously, Oreo was able to hit as crisp a timing as possible in that previous game, but that was also a little map dependent, wasn't it? Like Defora, very straightforward map, has not a quick rush distance, but definitely a very straightforward one. Romanticide, on the other hand, sticks around quite a bit.
Yeah, like the last game, Oreo was able to execute that and waddle his queens across the map through those speed zones, specifically because of that map. You can do something similar on Romanticide, but you rely a lot more on the creep highway instead to like slowly get through this center and get to your opponent. I can't imagine Oreo is going to do the same thing, but we'll see what he has in store for us in game 2.
That we shall. I would like to see a Nidus, but I don't think that's going to be particularly effective. I just want to see it.
I think regardless, you're on the right track in saying that I don't think Oreo wants to play that late game. I don't think he's going to...
Yeah.
Especially against someone like StarDuck.
Yeah, once you mentioned Lambo, I was like, right, he is part of that sort of solar side of players.
Yeah.
Like Solar, Lambo, Laser, they hate ZvP late game.
Exactly. They'll do whatever it takes to end it. And I did want to touch on something because I don't know if I was able to speak to you about it, but Milk and I casted it earlier this week where StarDuck 2-0 Jim Rising.
Oh, we talked about it, not on the cast, I don't think you and I, but we definitely talked about it before. That was the most recent ESL NA, if I'm not mistaken. And they were not, and you know, you look at that particular matchup and you think, StarDuck doing StarDuck things, right? Going for a cannon rush and whatnot. No, not at all. Those were longer 20-minute macro games that happened.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Those were games where StarDuck was allowed to get into that late game Skytoss army with carriers, with Storm. So StarDuck shows that he can go toe-to-toe with the best when it comes to late game Protoss. But again, like it's his early game where he struggles a little bit more. Yeah, that's why infamously one of the players he struggles against is someone like Miyamika,
who is, funnily enough, kind of in the same vein of refusing to play ZvP late game, except he just refuses to play late game in general, unless he rushes it.
Pretty much.
Unless he goes for an ultra rush against Immortals, something like that.
Miyamika he has just his own way of approaching the matchup. He is like, a lot of people talk about Maru and say like, you know, he's the fourth race. Nah, mate, Miyamika's the fourth race. Okay, he's.
Well, we're not sure if he's necessarily a fourth race or an entirely different species entirely.
It's true. It's something completely different, never before seen
It's
by
actually playing
man.
a different game. He's playing CSGO in StarCraft 2.
Oh my.
Okay, pretty good defense here from StarDuck. Oreo being very aggressive here. Trying to see what he can sort of get done. Mostly just trying to scout out his opponent. But StarDuck not only doing well to defend against the Lynx, he also took out the Overlord going into the main base immediately quickly. And that's really important for Oreo to figure out, because StarDuck, he's not as committed to the Stargates as he was in game number 1. He's working on a much quicker gateway transition.
Exactly. Like, Oreo has been denied that scouting. He doesn't know that his opponent isn't going double Stargate, which I would say is what you would expect on a map like Romanticide. Like, this map kind of lends more towards that style, so it's a little bit dangerous that Oreo, he's in the dark at the moment. He's kind of unaware.
If only Zerg had scared. Oh no! Oh, so many drones!
Oof. Aye, Oreo.
Look at that income plummet, like.
Exactly, so many drones. Stasis there, just completely out of commission. Meanwhile, he did manage to deal some economic damage across the map, killed a couple of workers, and I guess thankfully Oreo didn't lose any drones, but that was a pretty good stasis by StarDuck.
Very good stasis.
Took
out quite a lot of money. Oh, it's coming back for another. It does in fact have enough. Oreo does react quicker though. Will only lose one single drone to the stasis ward. Nicely done over here.
Exactly, nicely done indeed. And yeah,
I was just gonna say, I do like that Oreo is playing it a little bit safer since he was unable to get too much scouting information done. He is not neglecting his baneliness whatsoever, which is kind of the key here when you're sort of unsure whether your opponent's gonna go for a big sky toss commitment, or if they're gonna transition to more of a gateway army. And the only thing that this would be ineffective against is Robo, but I mean, it's really. That would really be a wild card if StarDuck pulled that out from this position. Definitely.
I'm pretty sure Oreo has been able to deduce that it wasn't a double Stargate opening because he only sees 2 Void Rays or 3 Void Rays. Normally you would see more by now. So it looks like he is getting ready, even for the War Prism to sneak into the main.
So careful here. Oreo is being...
Yeah, the problem is that...
What's the APM button? Well, it doesn't really matter.
And the problem is that he doesn't have vision right now of this area, so he doesn't know that StarDuck is getting ready to push in and his queens are being dragged out of position.
Yeah, even despite the creep, it does take a little while for queens to get to the third base when they're so forward like that. Does have some army in position though. Gonna move his own links forward. I do like that StarDuck is keeping the Warp Prism way in the back. Not only can you just warp in a little more, he can also use it to sneak around to the main base if he so chooses. Oreo's still unaware that that's a possibility for StarDuck.
Yeah, unfortunately he didn't get to see it. Ooh, the stasis does go off on a minimal amount of units, and in the end, Oreo, he only takes like 3 drone losses.
Huh. After all of that.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
But how many stasis drones is equivalent to a kill drone though?
True, very true. But once again, we do see Oreo being incredibly aggressive here, pushing out with his links, morphing Banelings in the face of his opponent. But I don't know if that's gonna work well this time.
Yeah, I was gonna say this might work better considering the chargelets, but StarDuck, he's still got a lot of Archons being made. He's not even gonna bother waiting for Storm to finish researching.
And the stasis!
He knows exactly what he needs. Beautiful stasis! Just about the most perfect one here. Almost every Baneling in the initial assault caught out by that stasis ward. StarDuck has so little to fear from this point forward. Oreo getting a little bit desperate, pulling every single queen, and just look at the army supply difference. It is already tough for a Zerg player that's below on army supply to win an engagement. It's so much harder when you throw in shield batteries in that equation.
Exactly, like look at this defensive position. Like we have cannons, we have shield batteries all over the place, more and more reinforcements. And I think that's the key word there. It was looking pretty desperate from Oreo, and at the same time, Azella run by.
That Warp Prism, it didn't go home. It snuck around like what I tell you.
Oh god, exactly. Unchecked, unhindered. All the queens are across the map, so they're not here to defend. And now, like, there's almost no mining whatsoever. There's basically Oreo's on 1 base economy.
This is like if the Stasis Ward popped off a billion times. On the drones, 15 and I'm going down. No, the queen!
Ow!
The body block there, uncareful. Ooh.
Oh my god, oh my god! Keep it alive, transfuse!
Might actually be able to kill this hatchery. These queens have plenty of energy. That's one of the plus sides of Oreo not engaging earlier on.
Oof.
So is able to keep majority of his bases alive. He lost a lot of workers, but he was pretty quick to remake them. The scary part though is StarDuck continue to warp in, push in with the rest of his army. I think we're gonna get our ace match.
Exactly, the main army is pushing on forward. Sure, there are lurkers, but they are already tagged, and this time Storm is ready for StarDuck.
He's not even gonna need it. The High Templar are slowly getting into position. Don't quite need them when you have that many Archons out. Still useful against the lurkers, I suppose. This Warp Prism, absolute MVP this game.
Jesus Christ, just so much damage has been done. GG gets called.
StarDuck taking game number 2 after preventing that timing from Oreo. Another above 400 APM game from our Zerg player. He's a little slower this time, so he's making progress.
He is, and so impressive there. Again, a bit of a shame Oreo, it looked like he was trying to execute the same kind of build, right? Welding the queens across the map. But as we saw, without those speed zones, it takes so much longer to move out across the map. And more importantly, this time, StarDuck was 100% ready for that attack.
Absolutely was. He may have been getting his storm a little bit later, but that does not really factor into that game. Feels like StarDuck really understood how Oreo wants to play this out, what type of ZvP player he is, and just chose to play on Romanticide accordingly. This time, though, we're getting the polar opposite of Romanticide for our ace match. Here's hoping StarDuck has. It feels like StarDuck has adapted enough. He has analyzed Oreo enough in the short time that they've played that he should know how to defend against him. But it's Submarine Light. This is such a quick map. It might not even matter for him.
Exactly. That's the very important part to distinguish here, is that on this map specifically, timings are different. Things hit much faster. Things hit harder as well. Queens, they don't have that far to waddle to be at your face. So this is a little bit scary. We'll see how good the early game defense is for StarDuck.
It feels like on Submarine, one creep tumor is all the Zerg player needs to make it across the map of queens. Well, that's not actually the case, but that's how it feels sometimes. As we finish off our first match of the day on Submarine LE, we all live in it, and actually, I'm just realizing it now, Light, a rarity in Grand Platypus Open.
Player choice.
The LE Submarine, the LE Submarine here in the bottom, in the bottom right hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in the bottom right hand corner, the red Zerg player coming down for the land of Brisbane. He is the classical man himself. If you ever watch his stream, you know what I'm talking about. Twitch.tv/DF Oreo, I believe it is. Could be wrong there. Oreo, please clarify once you can. He is representing Downfall Gaming. We have Oreo.
Hey, what the hell?
His opponent say, uh-oh.
The letters.
DFG.
Yeah.
I thought we were reserving. I thought that was for the Chinese.
Well, you did it in the previous game, but spawning in the top left-hand corner of Submarine LE, we have the other Australian player, the Australian Protoss. He is blue, representing Team Fight for Justice. It is StarDuck.
Oh boy, I'm holding my breath here, Light. I fully expect right off the gate, once the countdown ended, for there to be chaos happening. So I just feel like, it feels like we're in the calm before the storm right now.
Oh yeah. And I think that's very apt, because I don't even know if StarDuck is even going to get Storm. I don't even know if he's going to have that much time, mate.
It's a short map. And again, it's such a treat to see it on GPO, particularly in our non-ZVC matchups. I know Gogo Joey and Mio Micah,
Yeah.
they do like this map when it comes to ZVZ, but in the other matchups, we very rarely get to see it.
Oh yeah, definitely, which is great. Like, again, like, there's a reason why we're fans of both of these players. They've been here for so long. They are not afraid of a map like Submarine. Again, kind of surprising that StarDuck is embracing this map, because I know players like Pez have really, expressed their disdain of this map. They're like, oh my god, like, this is way too good for Zerg, but... Wow.
Yeah. Yep. Oreo has no such... Well, I guess Oreo does agree with that, which is why he chose it.
So we'll see. We'll see how this turns out here. Ooh, nice save there on the drone.
So Oreo was trying to play slower, you said?
He's trying.
That felt like a last minute. That felt like a last minute spore.
Look, he's trying. Okay, he's trying.
He's getting so good on the micro. Oreo is.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Losing the minimal amount of drones, even killing that adept.
Ooh, and we'll see if that was worth it for StarDuck, because again, that initial adept is kind of valuable when it comes to scouting information, when it comes to trying to figure out what your opponent is doing. To be fair, Oreo hasn't been going for anything too cheeky, just that same crisp Queen, Bane, Hydra timing.
And it might be working out for him. StarDuck knows that there's a little bit of time that he can use to sort of take advantage of that, so he's trying to get his third base up and running while he can. Should be seeing a couple of shield batteries, maybe even a cannon or two thrown down that location soon.
Oh my god.
Not gonna be Hydras this time? Question mark?
Okay.
It could still be. Oh, it was a misclick. I had hope here, Oreo. I thought you were doing Cucaracha.
I was hoping for it as well.
The underground.
It's a bit unfortunate he is not going full borrow. Meanwhile, this makes the most sense for StarDuck. It is so risky going double Stargate on this map just because of how vulnerable you are, so he is instead focusing on his ground army, just like the previous game.
Yeah. There's a lot less dead air you can... Oh, I thought that's Oracle's gonna fly into Queens. But yeah, there's a lot less dead air for you to take advantage on Submarine here. And it's kind of fitting with the name of the map, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not a lot of dead air, just water. Water everywhere.
Exactly, water and sometimes lily pads.
Sometimes, not always.
Hold on.
Sometimes you have like those metal buildings that sort of look kind of like lily pads. Oh, those aren't. Yeah, I mean those are like metal lily pads in a sense. Yeah, they kind of look like lily pads. They probably like disguise the building to look like lily pads.
Exactly. Oh boy, and okay, so Oreo just finished up his... Ooh, interesting. He just finished up his lair, and he is going for not just his Hydra Den, this time roaches instead of banelings.
Interesting. I guess that kind of makes sense. Banelings are amazing against chargelets, but they really don't do anything against Archons. Roaches, on the other hand, they're not exactly great against charge slots, but they can still take quite a pounding, and they're also what you want against Archons. Most important thing is that they buffer really well for your Hydras and your Queens, too.
Exactly. I think straight up Oreo is just assuming that StarDuck is going to go for that same composition. He's like, okay, so roaches aren't ideal, but they're going to fare better than banelings as a buffer for my Hydras. So he is going for that roach Hydra composition, and so far he's guessing correctly. Like, StarDuck is going for charge, he is going for +1, and we do have that Templar Archives complete as well.
Indeed we do. Interesting to see how this dynamic works out. Again, this is not a hard counter like the previous games were, where you had the Banelings just completely countering the High Templar or the Archons completely countering the Banelings. This is a lot more of who's going to get the right position correctly, right? Who's going to have the better micro? Who's going to be able to hit at the right timing, split off the right amount of army?
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I'm a little bit concerned for StarDuck because one of his faults, one of his weaknesses is his scouting. Like, if you look at his vision, he hasn't seen anything other than that initial adept, like, across the map that died. He hasn't seen any of the bases. He doesn't know the tech until it hits him in the face, and now he sees the roaches.
And here they are. But although I will say, not the worst timing that StarDuck could have figured out the tech here. Can still afford to maybe get a couple of sentries and try to split the Zerg army in two, but it's going to be a bit of a tough ask, especially since he still needs to warp in more of his main army coming down here. This is such a strong push from Oreo. Look at that supply difference.
Exactly. The Hydras are here. The Roaches are here. We just see Overcharge already being popped for StarDuck. Ooh, nice stasis.
Yeah, it takes out a good amount of roaches over here and also makes the positioning a lot more awkward for the Zerg player. A little bit wonky, if you will.
Exactly, a little bit wonky, and this is scary. Okay, we do have an Immortal on the way, which will definitely help, but it's still on the way, and the Zealots are trying to go on top of the Hydras, but the Roaches are about to pop out.
And it looks like StarDuck is kind of doing it. He's buying enough time as he can, but Oreo just continuing to make nothing but army, marching across the map. Muscular augments. Hydra speed is about to finish up, but this might be the stasis ward that buys StarDuck just enough time to win this engagement and hold.
Exactly.
Let's see.
He's pushing through the majority of the Roaches. There are only 3 Hydras left, but the reinforcements come in, and in a couple of seconds, the stasis is going to run out, and when it does, there's going to be too much here. Recall gets you. Oh, he missed recalls. No!
No! That was the worst misclick that could have happened so far in this game, and it looks like Oreo, his Hydra speed has finished up. It looks like he's going to take this series.
Exactly. The third goes down. He wanted to evacuate to his natural base to a better defensive position because you know what? StarDuck isn't too far down in terms of workers, especially since those 12 that just went down would have recalled. But now he's here. He lost so many units. The Cyber Core goes down. The Roaches are pushing in.
I will say it is mostly Roaches. No, the Ravager Piles do land on that Void Race, and the Hydras were there to clean up the rest. GG is called. Oreo proven that mate. I'm just in shock. Let me say my generation is showing the youngsters a thing or two. StarDuck is actually also part of my generation.
I was about to say there's like a 2-year gap between them.
Yeah, there is a 2-year gap between them, but I tell you what. There is a 2-year gap.
God damn it. GG, well played. Oreo coming back strong, doing what Jim Rising and Go-Go Joey couldn't, and takes down StarDuck.
AUS Zerg confirmed more than Mexican / Brazilian Zerg.
I feel like we all already knew that.
The Zerg was the other player that...
Yeah, the Zerg was the other.
The Zerg was the other player, right? Yeah, that StarDuck beat.
Yep. Oh god, what a series. And I wanted to mention this a little bit, but I didn't really get a chance to in that series. Again, I know that we've had like an influx of viewers this year, and we haven't there are people watching that weren't necessarily watching towards the end of last year, so people might be wondering, who is Oreo? Other than what we already said about him, he is one of the Brisbane boys. I think with confidence that he is currently the best Zerg player in Australia.
I'm with you on that one. Until, I'm just looking at you, NXZ, old mate Ryan. You know, if you actually played, you might be able to take that. But yeah, I would definitely agree with you. Oreo is definitely number 1. Chappie is a solid number 2, I would say, but there's enough of a gap between them that I don't think it's I don't think you'll find much disagreements that Oreo is number 1 Australian Zerg player.
Definitely.